Noise is described as an undesirable sound that is considered as a nuisance and a threat to the environment. The vibrating variations in air pressure produce sounds. Because 54% of the world's population lives in cities, and that number is anticipated to rise to 66% by 2050. The greatest influence of noise in metropolitan environments was felt by students, particularly those whose schools were located near a busy road. Noise pollution from equipment caused by huge cars contamination can cause interference and stress at work. Indoor noise and reverberation in classroom surroundings were linked to students' poor performance in verbal works.
Next, we go to the effect of noise. Effect of noise we divided into 4 sections. For speech interference, interference in speech is the specific situation in which speech is masked by a different sound. Masking is mainly an interaction between two simultaneous sounds where the masking effect is greatest in masking sound frequencies. However, speech communication interference is of particular concern in school environment as the daily activities in the school are based on communication and concentration. Exposure to high noise during the time when students become able to speak and listen can have an impact on the scholastic performance. The second effect is sleep disturbance. Uninterrupted sleep is known as the condition for a healthy person's physiological and mental functions. On the other hand, sleep disorder is considered an important environmental impact on noise. Primary effects of sleep disturbance are sleep difficulty, which is increased sleep latency, awakening, sleep stages or depth changes, in particular a decrease in sleep proportion, which is REM, also known as the rapid eye movement. The third effect is short-term memory. Noise exposure has little effect on the short-term memory of students, which is their working memory and a simple task of memory. According to Hyde 1993, in quiet and noisy condition, comparing relatively easy and difficult memory tasks, only the difficult task was sensitive to noise exposure, and several studies examining various sources and their short-term memory effects show that the learning process is more influenced by verbal noise than wideband noise. Annoyance must be viewed as long-term unhappiness, perplexity or trouble combined with the above feelings and triggered, for example, by acoustic environment. This is due to increasing sound levels, noise tonality and exposure variability. The sound discomfort and annoyance increase as the duration of the sound increased to at least 100 seconds. Intermittent noise at the same level was regarded as more annoying and uncomfortable than continual noise. Mitigation measure of building arrangement. In a study of noise level at schools, they found a high level of noise in their schools. The data showed that noise as loud as 82.18 decibel, which is substantially higher than 55 decibel threshold. A researcher evaluated the option for noise reduction by opening windows in the classrooms and found that building arrangements could affect noise distribution throughout the building. Next is using double glass windows. Additional research focused on windows and noise reduction. A researcher studied about the double glass windows with 3 different types of glass made by combining ordinary with laminated glass, and they found that this type of glass, the sound reduction index value was less than 30 decibel. According to Kim and Park, 2015, the acoustic insulation performance of windows was examined and airtight windows were found to be effective noise barriers. Furthermore, shielding mode also can be one of the mitigation measures on how to reduce the noise pollution. In other words, a researcher estimates the effect of noise on different shielding modes attached to building facades and has found that inclined type eaves are more effective than flat shields and short shields as a noise reduction measure. Next, another researcher examined the possibility to reduce traffic noise by installing a green roof, and they found that a flat roof are the most effective protection. Besides that, the best way to prevent noise disturbance in institution or school is to locate them in isolated areas. A long building can be an effective screen, but spacing between buildings will reduce sound damping. According to Ayuba et al. 2018, it recommended that forward trends in libraries should be anticipated, special reading rooms and group study rooms should be provided, noise barriers installed to absorb noise from external sources and given a sufficient distance, at least 40 meters from a road traffic sources, and only the power generation system or battery should be soundproof. In this part of result and discussion, we will explain one by one about our research question. First of all, we will explain about our first research question, which is what is the noise level around primary school. In a study conducted around primary school, especially in the classroom at UK, London, by Brigade and Dockrell 2014, it was found that the area recorded the highest maximum noise level than the other countries, which is 81.3 decibel. This is due to this primary school was located in a metropolitan city. According to Moodley 1989, found in primary school for empty classroom, the mean level 47 decibel with a range of 35 to 64.2 decibel, and a mean level for occupied classroom was 65 decibel and a range between 47.5 to 81.3 decibel. Another survey of UK primary school classroom by Hay 1985 showed that background noise level in empty classroom ranged from 35 to 45 decibel, while noise level in occupied classroom with student talking and working ranged from 58 to 72 decibel. These studies agree with other studies in that 35 decibel is the lowest likely to occur in an empty classroom, but levels are considerably higher in an occupied classroom, so we can say that the number of students and their activity can be one of the factors that the level of noise increase. Meanwhile, United States primary school showed that the third highest maximum noise, which is 76.4 decibel. This study being conducted for a student who are deaf and hard of hearing or DHH by Easterbrook and Graham 2018. The mean intensity level for unoccupied classroom being measured was 48.18 decibel with a minimum level of 37.2 decibel and maximum level was 66.2 decibel. While for occupied classroom, their mean intensity was 63.77 decibel with a minimum and maximum level of noise was 44.2 decibel and 76.4 decibel respectively. It showed that all unoccupied classroom was exceed the recommended level, which is 35 decibel for students, and for those students who are DHH or deaf and hard of hearing, their recommended level was 30 decibel. This is happened due to lack of acoustic characteristic in the classroom, so the distance of average between unoccupied and occupied classroom was 15 decibel. Next, we will explain about the second research question, which is there any relationship between the effect of noise pollution with a student's performance? Several studies have found the evidence of possible links between chronic noise exposure and elevated blood pressure in children. With two exceptions, all the studies show that children who are chronically exposed to noise have higher resting blood pressure. The magnitude of blood pressure elevation found from chronic exposure are unlikely to be clinically significant in children during their adolescent years, but could portend elevation later in life that might be health damaging. While the second study, which discovered a non-significant relationship between chronic noise exposure and resting blood pressure level, was conducted on children and students who were exposed to high level of noise from an airport. According to Cohen et al. 1981, in a cross-sectional study, researchers discovered that a difference in blood pressure between children attending noisy versus quiet elementary schools did not replicate when reassessed a year later. According to attritional analysis, the failed longitudinal replication was caused by family emigration, with children in noisy areas having the highest blood pressure levels. In contrast to the other studies, the three studies by Cohen and colleagues include statistical controls, which is social class and education, to counteract potential third variable explanation for the association discovered between noise exposure and chronic level of blood pressure. Next, several studies have been conducted to investigate the effect of noise on children's motivational state in a cross-sectional study by Cohen et al. 1980, 1981, 1986. There was a significant relationship between noise exposure and motivational deficits. According to Cohen et al. 1980, reveals findings on giving up are perhaps the most convincing evidence of reduced motivation in an achievement-related situation. Furthermore, teachers in noisy schools report having more difficulty motivating students to perform than teachers in quiet schools relatively. Moreover, the cognitive ability to perceive order and contingency in the environment is likely to be dependent on some level of sustained attention to event sequences as they unfold. High ambient noise level may have an interruptive and distracting effect on a children's ability to maintain voluntary attention or concentrate. A study by Kendorf and Klappers 1968, Kaiser 1977, Mosh Siboni 1984 have revealed deficit in standardized measure of sustained attention in children who are chronically exposed to noise. Furthermore, teachers report that children in noisy school have more difficulty concentrating than children in relatively quieter schools. Children who attended school near train tracks perform marginally worse on a visual search task than children who attended relatively quiet school. Next, noise exposure, whether chronic or acute, appear to have a little or no effect on simple memory tasks. However, when sufficient processing demands are placed on memory, deficit begin to appear in children who have been exposed to noise. According to the finding by Hyde 1993 are fascinating because he compared relatively easy and difficult memory tasks in quiet and noisy conditions, discovering that the difficult tasks were sensitive to noise exposure.
There are a variety of sources of background noise, both inside and outside. During break time between courses, indoor noises from the classroom, such as student activities and conversation, as well as noise from the hallways, are common. Noise from other sections of the school tends to get louder in the classroom, whereas background noise comes from within the room, primarily from heating and ventilation system, but also from projectors and laptop computers. Traffic noise levels have not decreased as a result of increased traffic intensity, the street network, and longer road length. Vehicles are classed as car and taxis, small vans and large vans, medium lorries and huge truck buses, and motorcycles according to certain studies. The most significant sources of urban noise is commonly regarded as vehicle traffic. Fundamental research and product development have been conducted in order to achieve effective noise suppression under natural ventilation conditions. It indicates a road traffic noise reduction effect of 5.4 until 14.7 dBA through on-site measurement of 11 residential structures, proving the capabilities of noise management through appropriate open window design. An open window laboratory to generate noise under a variety of conditions including opening area, incidence angle, window design, and other variables. The kind of glasses, glass size, joinery type, joints, and seals in the window opening mechanism determine the sound reduction index of windows. Glass units with 2 or 3 panes of glass are prevalent in windows and walls. Following that, single pane windows have an arithmetic average sound insulation performance of 20 until 30 dB, and double pane windows have an arithmetic average sound insulation performance of 30 until 40 dB. However, sound insulation efficiency varies depending on the type of outside sound sources. The ability of green roofs to reduce overall weighted traffic noise at building facades is assessed. The simple acoustical use of green roof is to boost the roof system sound insulation. This could result in large decrease in internal noise level, such as during a plane flyover depending on the building's design. Noise pollution from vehicles passing by school roads might have an impact on students' health. Noise levels in occupied and unoccupied classrooms were found to be higher than WHO recommended threshold of 35 dBA and 55 dBA respectively. Students' activities were the main source of noise in the classroom. The current study looks at a few different ways to improve classroom acoustics. Windows are an important component in sustainable buildings because of the impact caused by their natural life cycles and their influence on the performance of a structure over its service life. The current study looked at how effective different types of windows are at reducing noise pollution. Noise pollution causes poor learning setting and puts student cognitive, academic, and professional development at risk. That's all from us. Thank you.